visitors. And there were some four-wheel drive vehicles that we understand were travelling in a convoy that were targeted, but so far the Somali officials have not confirmed that any foreigners were killed, and it seems that all of those killed and injured were Somali nationals, but certainly a very significant attack in the capital, Mogadishu.
And do you think the timing of this attack is significant, given that it comes a couple of days after what was a bit of a political breakthrough?
Well, the position at the moment is that the country is basically tense because of the political wranglings that have been going on. It does appear that there's been an agreement, or at least a step towards an agreement on the holding of these elections, which are due to happen by the 25th of next month. But there's still a great deal of mistrust between the President, Mohamed Abdullahi Mohamed, known as Farmajo, and Prime Minister Mohamed Hussein Roble. There's a lot of mistrust between them. And the fact that a lot of opposition people are accusing the current president of trying to stay on in power and potentially rig that election, that's provided a lot of tension. And so I think it'd be fair to say that if that spills over into violence, that's going to provide an even greater opportunity for Al-Shabaab to take advantage and cause more chaos.
That was Will Wilson. A Chinese woman has been giving details of an unexpectedly long blind date and trapped in a man's home by a COVID lockdown. The woman, identified only as Ms. Wang, posted on Chinese social media that she stuck with her date for 4 days. Michael Bristow takes up the story.
It's a blind date with no escape. The woman had returned to the city of Zhengzhou for a week to go on at least 10 dates arranged by her family. She agreed because, as she put it, she wasn't getting any younger. On the 5th date, she went to the potential suitor's home because he wanted to show off his culinary skills. But while she was there, the area was suddenly locked down. Millions of people in China are currently living under similar conditions as the country continues its policy of trying to eradicate every single case. As the woman explained later, it meant she couldn't leave. Over the next 4 days, she videoed the as he cooked and cleaned, and then posted the clips online. Millions watched, but despite their enforced time together, love blossomed. While she praised the man's ability to complete household chores, she also complained that he wasn't very talkative, and it was all more than a little embarrassing.
And that's all from us for now, but there will be a new edition of the Global News podcast later. If you want to comment on this podcast or the topics we've covered in it, you can send us an email. The address is globalpodcast@bbc.co.uk. You can also find us on Twitter @GlobalNewsPod. Many of you have been getting in contact to tell us where you're listening to us from. Molly in Costa Rica has taken the record for our youngest listener to email in so far. She listened in, she was in the car with her parents. Anne-Marie is from Sioux Falls, Dakota. She says she's studying for the United States Foreign Service Officer exam, and our podcast
昨日の夕方綺麗に除雪したんですけどね。朝になったらこんなになってます。マジか。綺麗にやったんだけどな。昨日の夕方6時頃。朝8時半9時でこんな感じです。大雪。
It's almost unheard of. Unbelievable. It's almost like a perfect crime. Make the most of the present with stories from the past.
ちなみに今、ポッドキャストで、これは ABC かな、ニュース聞いてます。よいしょ。英語は全然わかりません。でもこうやってこうした時間にも英語聞いてると、そのうち英語のリスニングとかできるようになるんじゃないかなっていう期待を持ちつつやってます。9時。
Hello and welcome to this edition of NHK Newsline. I'm Raja Pradhan with the news from Tokyo. We We start with the coronavirus situation here in Japan, where the government is revising rules to deal with the rapid spread of the Omicron variant. More than 18,000 coronavirus infections were confirmed on Thursday. The daily tally is 25 people across Japan are in serious condition, up 20 from Wednesday. Tokyo reported more than 3,000 new cases. The number increased by about 1,000 for 2 days in a row. Health experts monitoring the situation say the daily tally in the capital is expected to exceed 10,000 by the end of January.
しまって跳ね上げるの大変。僕の身長が178センチぐらい。多分この雪2メーター近くなってるですよね。
The governor plans to ask the central government to give Tokyo authorities to take stricter anti-virus measures if
有
its
酸
medical
素運動
staff
に
is
なると思います。
We will consider asking the government to apply intensive anti-infection measures if 20% of hospital beds are occupied. If the rate rises to 50%, we will consider asking the government to declare a state of
コ
emergency.
ツは
Experts are calling on the government to
無理を
change
し
the
ないこ
rules
と。
so people who've been in close contact with an infected person can resume their
無理するとマジで
Currently, they're asked to
腰とかやっ
isolate
ちゃい
for
ます。
14 days.
さてこれ
The
どうすっか
experts
な。
say the period should be shortened to
とりあえ
10
ず
days
人が通
and
れ
even
る
shorter
通
for
路だけは
present
開けない
cases
と
such as medical workers.
郵便屋さんも
An
宅配
oral
便も来れない。
COVID-19 drug developed by U.S.
車が
pharmaceutical
入れる
firm
ように
Merck
するかどう
was
かは
approved
ちょっ
in
と考
Japan
え
last
よ
month. It's now available
ち
at
ょっとこ
clinics
れ
and
無理だ
pharmacies
わ。
across the nation. It's administered to
とり
patients
あえ
with
ず
mild
は
symptoms
人が通
isolating
れ
at
るよ
home
うに
based on a doctor's
しない
prescription.
とまずいですよね。
Since we can order a limited amount at one time, we might face a shortage if patients keep on increasing.
The government is speeding up its rollout of booster shots, shortening the necessary interval between the second and third jab. Health Ministry officials are also preparing to approve the use of the Pfizer vaccine for children aged 5 to 11. Currently, children below 12 are not eligible for inoculation. Turning now to the Beijing Winter Olympics and Paralympics, which kick off in a few weeks' time. The organizers have highlighted their efforts to make them eco-friendly. Officials with the Beijing Organizing Committee said venues are powered by renewable energy.
玄関
And
脇
they
の
said
こ
they're
こが
adopting
僕の背
clean
より
energy
高く積み上がっ
vehicles
たのは
such as hydrogen-fueled buses.
ちょっと記
They
憶にない
stress
な。
the games will be carbon neutral. Chinese authorities are on alert against the spread of the Omicron variant. Places with confirmed Omicron infections include Tianjin, which neighbors Beijing. The cases are believed to have resulted from community transmission. The city of Xi'an in Shanxi province is under a strict lockdown. The organizing committee has yet to announce how tickets will be sold to residents of mainland China. The Beijing Olympics begin on February 4th. A South Korean official says President Moon Jae-in likely will not attend next month's Beijing Olympics. The source within the president's office said South Korea hopes the games will support peace and improve inter-Korean relations. The official said the Moon administration is considering sending a delegation, but not the president himself. Several nations have joined a U.S.-led diplomatic boycott of the games, but Moon said as recently as last month, South Korea will not be part of it. The world's #1 tennis player, Novak Djokovic, has been included in a draw for the Australian Open, but it's not clear if he can play for a 10th title, as the government is considering whether to revoke his visa again.
仕事にならんね。
Djokovic is a top-seeded defending champion. He's been drawn to play a fellow Serb, Miomir Kecmanovic, for his first-round match next week. Djokovic was denied entry into Australia last week. Border officials ruled he did not meet their criteria to be exempted from being vaccinated against COVID-19.
インスタ
On
360
Monday, a court overturned the visa cancellation on grounds that immigration officials had failed to follow proper procedures.
純
But the
正の
judge did not address whether
ガラス保護の
Djokovic's
やつ
vaccine
を
exemption was valid.
レンズ保護のパーツを買ってつけて、今日初めて撮影してるんですけど、なんかこれレンズに水滴ついちゃったけど大丈夫かな。ちゃんと撮れてんだろうか。まあそういうことも含めて試験運用のためにやってます。夏になったらこれでサイクリング動画とか景色のいいやつ撮りたいですよね。
Members of the only parachute unit in Japan's self-defense forces have shown off some of their training. They gave the media access to a drill in which they took down a remote island. The ground self-defense forces' 1st Airborne Brigade has about 2,000 members. They've been training near Tokyo. They parachuted from Japanese and U.S. aircraft at an altitude of 340 meters. Their scenario was to take back the remote island. Once they had landed, they reached facilities with support from helicopters. Then they checked the procedures for deploying units that are closest to ship.
とんでもない豪雪地帯だと思われてるかもしれませんけど、例年はこんなには降らないんですよね。今年はちょっと特別。これはひどい。隣の滝川市ってとこがあるんですけど、滝川市はもう赤平よりもずっとたくさん降るんですけど、赤平は意外と滝川なんかに比べたら雪は少ない方です。よっと。このカメラ、こうやって除雪作業してるとかなりブラブラ揺れてるんですけど、ちゃんと撮れてるのかこれ。知らねえ。まあいいや。
I trust Japan's judicial system, and I hope it will make the right decision. I want them to protect the human rights of foreign nationals, including ourselves.
In 2020, the UN Working Group on
こんな
Arbitrary
感じで
Detention adopted an
雪で埋まってるん
opinion
ですけ
urging
ど、
the Japanese government to review its
昨
handling
日
of the
暖
foreign
かくなっ
nationals.
て屋根からの
The
雪が全部
opinion
落
is
ちて
not legally
家が埋ま
binding,
りました。
but last year,
なんと
the
か
government
煙突
filed
だ
an
けは
objection,
出したんですけど、
arguing the detentions were properly
怖いんで暖房つけられ
implemented
ない
in
ですね。
accordance with the law. But
よ
the
し。
opinion was based on factual errors. Immigration officials say they'll respond to the lawsuit after they receive instructions. Moving now to Thailand, where authorities are planning to introduce an entry fee for foreign tourists as it tries to revive its battered tourism industry. A government spokesperson said on Wednesday the country is considering collecting about $9 from each foreign tourist starting in April. The funds will be used to cover travel insurance and improve tourist attractions. Officials say they hope to lure up to 15 million visitors and generate at least $24 billion this year. But the plan is an untimely one for some tourist operators. The Association of Thai Travel Agents said the will further hamper confidence in travel and alienate visitors, especially those who come in large groups. Thailand was gradually lifting mandatory quarantines for tourists from November, but the requirement was reimposed last month in the face of the fast-spreading Omicron variant. Authorities reported over 8,000 new coronavirus cases on Thursday, jumping from about 3,000 at the beginning of January. Indonesia's government has allowed a conditional resumption of coal exports following an improvement in the supply situation for domestic power plants. The world's top coal exporting country had imposed a temporary ban on January 1st. The government announced it would allow 37 ships loaded with coal to leave its ports. It also said the export ban had been lifted for coal producers who have contracts with the state power company. The contracts required them to supply about 25% of their annual output to domestic power plants. The export ban was introduced to resolve the problem of coal shortages due to the lower prices of fuel for domestic use. The government explained the situation as now improved. The International Energy Agency says Indonesia was the world's largest coal exporter in 2020 with 31.5%.
いずれちょっと雪が収まってからやることにしましょう。というわけで
This year's first Grand Sumo tournament is underway here in
朝9時
Tokyo.
の
NHK World's
除
resident
雪でし
sumo
た。
expert Morita Hiroshi
一旦ここ
has
で
an
停止。
update on the competition.